So the question is, May, do you know what a river is? What is a river? Well, it's a place where there's water, you know that. Video.
Sale un cocodrilo ahí,
¿Sí?
Ayer salió, tomaron un video aquí no está.
Ah, sí, salió.
Estaba lleno, sí.
Ah, a ver si lo veo.
Sí.
Dale, pues. A woman stopped by who was jogging, and she said, asked her if I was taking pictures. I said, no, it's a video. And she says, well, you know, there's a crocodile over there. Someone was here and they saw the crocodile. Anyways, getting back to the subject, what is a river? This is an educational video from Doggone Videos. It's designed for younger people up to maybe the age of 10 or so, or maybe a little older. And we're here where we find some water. And the question is this water a lake, a pond, a swimming pool, a river? We don't know because we're only seeing part of it. So we walk along a little bit further, we might see that this water is connected to some other water. And if we zoom in, we might see that, you see those little twigs in the water, and you see the little waves they're making. So which way do you think that water is going? Yes, if you said the water is going from right to left, you would be right. The water is actually flowing from over here by the bridge into that area there and into here. So now we say, is this a river, or where is this water coming from that we see is definitely flowing? So we'll have to do a little more investigation. Now here's a big clue. I am on a bridge, but I just crossed the bridge and I'm looking down here. I don't see any water. So where is that water coming from? Well, we'll just have to look around. There are a lot of pretty trees, huh? Look at all these trees. Well, right around the bottom of these trees I see water, but I don't know if that water is even moving or if it's just a puddle. So as I keep walking along, oh, now here's water. Which way is it flowing? It's flowing from left to right. So it's flowing the opposite way of that other water. The mystery deepens. You see that water? We can see again from the little waves that it's definitely going that way. It's going that way. So is that water a river? Part of a river? We'll just have to find out. I hate it when people honk for no good reason. Maybe they think they know me. Maybe they do know me. Oh well. So not to confuse you, but I just walked to the other side of the bridge again, and I see there's a lot of water here that looks like it might be the water that's going into that area that we saw with the water in the first place. Remember I asked you if it was a swimming pool or a lake? And I think all this water is actually coming from the river. Look here again. You can see that water is flowing that way. Isn't that pretty, the pattern it makes? The shadow. I wonder if you can see me. Hello? No. Anyways, so Tell me the first person who sees a horse's tail. Anybody see a horse's tail? Oh, there's that horse. Did anyone see it before it moved its head? How about you, Phyllis? Did you guess there was a horse there? Well, there is that horse having some very delicious grass and things that are growing by the side of this water that we now say is part of the river because it's connected right here to the river. And it's flowing around, and probably the reason it's flowing that way is because it's low there. So it's filling up an area that was low with water. Does that make sense? The water flows downhill. So it's always going to find the lowest levels and start filling it if it's connected to it somehow. And it is. So it flows here. The river is actually flowing. You see from the little ripples, the river is flowing from that way to that way. But some of the water comes over here because there's this area that's low and it's filling up the sides of the river where the land is. Yes, that's what this river is doing. It's actually overflowing where it normally would run. It's overflowing so much that these trees, they were planted in solid ground. I guarantee you that. They didn't grow up inside of a river, but now the river is running all over them. Do you understand? Does that make sense? You see? When have you ever seen a tree growing inside of a river? No, they grow on solid ground that you could walk on, May, Phyllis. But now you can't walk on this ground because it's covered with a couple feet of water anyways, or more. Now you might say, why are you so interested in this, Grandpa, and why should we care? Well, rivers are very, very important. Rivers do a lot of things. And a river will go where it can. You see, there's a fence here. Now, nobody would have built a fence in the middle of water. So before we can tell, and that was actually the little gate right there. Okay, so we can tell that before this was dry land, and it isn't anymore. Buenos dias. Everyone says good morning here. Everybody says good morning. Almost nobody ever doesn't say good morning. Hi, trees. So as I continue walking over the bridge, I get to the main part of the river. Yeah, finally. This is not a lake. This is the mighty river Santiago that comes all the way down from the mountains of Jalisco near the place called Guadalajara and flows all the way to the ocean. You can definitely see it flowing there, right? It's got a pretty good flow going. It's been raining a lot. This is the season of the year in Mexico. Starts like in July, go August, September, where you get a lot of rain. And the rain rains in the mountains, and it rains where I am, which isn't in the mountains. We're actually on the coast, only about half hour from the beach. And there's a beach video you'll be seeing very shortly if you haven't seen it. Anyways, this water ends up in the ocean. This water actually came from the ocean too. What do you mean it came from the ocean? Yep. This is what happens. See this river? Isn't that impressive? Huh? It's only about 9 o'clock in the morning. I got out here early, so I wanted to show you the river. It's a big river. Maybe not as big as the Mississippi or the Missouri, but it's bigger than a lot of rivers. And when it rains a lot, rivers start making a new path, because by the sides of the river there's usually some low areas, like over here, where the river can go over there and start filling up because there's too much water here, and so some of it wants to go there, even though most of it wants to go towards the ocean. So I walk over to the other side of the river. This would be the downstream from the, and we see the water flowing pretty good now. You see all the ripples it's making, these little waves, where the where there's like something holding up the bridge, a bridge abutment or something, and then you can actually hear it if there are no car goes by. Let's see if you can hear the river. Can you hear that noise? That's water rushing past these trees. These trees weren't always in the river. Nope. The river used to be only a much smaller space. It used to be right over in that area. And that's where it is like a lot of the year. But this time of the year, I have a lot of rain. And so the river gets wide, and it keeps going and going until it gets to the ocean. And while it's doing that, if it doesn't have enough space, or it's not deep enough to carry all the water, well, it'll start eroding the sides. Can you see that over there? If the river's not wide enough, it'll start eroding its banks. We can see this over here. Look, it's actually tearing away that earth there. Whoa, look at these holes here. Anyways, can you see that, Phyllis, where there's that dark line and then the green grass and stuff on top of it and where the trees are? Well, right now as we're speaking, the water is rushing past that dirt, and it's going fast enough, and it carries enough little bits of sand and stuff that it just wears away, kind of sands away and washes away the earth. And as it does that, it'll chew up as much as it needs to chew up, so it has enough space to keep going and going and going and going and going to the ocean. Now, I said this water came from the ocean. Well, it didn't come directly from the ocean. I mean, it wasn't someone just came and like filled up a big truck full of water and then dumped it over there upstream somewhere. No, what happened was this. The ocean gets warm here. It gets warm in a lot of places, but here we're in the tropics. What are the tropics? That's where the sun actually comes straight down in the sky and straight down on us. At certain times of the day, you won't have any shadow at all because the sun is directly above us. Now, where you live, that's not true. You'll always have a shadow if the sun's out, one way or the other. You can check that out. You can go in your backyard anytime you want and look, and there'll always be a little bit of shadow if the sun's out. So, anyways, we have a lot of sunshine here. It's very strong, and the ocean starts warming up. And when the ocean warms up, it starts getting moisture that comes off the water. And that moisture coming off the water can be a lot of moisture. So much moisture it comes in to make clouds. I don't know if you can tell here because they're light gray, but we're actually all covered with clouds right now. cloudy, cloudy. And at a certain point, those clouds get to the right temperature and they get to the right amount of water and they let it go, and boom, it flows down, goes all over everybody, like on those kids. It rains on the ground, it rains on the where they're gonna plant crops or where they already have food growing, and everyone's happy because there's lots of rain. And then it pours off all the extra rain that didn't get soaked up by the ground, and it goes into the river. So the water, the rain that came from the hot, moist ocean that went up in the sky ends up turning into rain. It is rain, and it flows off the ground and it comes into the river and it goes to the coast where it goes back into the river. It goes back into the ocean, and it keeps going like that forever and ever. Thank God. Because what happens if all the water just like went out of the ocean? The ocean would get dry. Or what happens if it never rained? It would be dry here. There wouldn't be any river. You see? So we should be very happy that it gets hot and humid and full of rain, and it rains and rains. It's more than just taking a bath out there by the side of our house with the rain coming off our roof. It's much more than that. It's the water that keeps the world going. Do you know your body is mostly water? Yep, it is. You ask Bennett, is my body mostly just water? And he'll tell you the truth. Okay. Anyways, this has been your lesson about the river and how it got made and how it's important. And I'm sure there's a million more things you can learn about rivers. There's people who spend their whole life learning about rivers. But I just wanted to tell you a little about them today. Oh, and so like, where does this river come from? Well, these mountains up here, that's where it starts. Way past those mountains that you see there. Way past those mountains. Maybe like 150, 200 miles past those mountains. That's where it starts, is just a little stream. And then it collects more and more water and more water until it gets to be the big, wide Santiago River right before it gets to the ocean. It's still got a ways to go before it gets to the ocean. Anyways, so just to give you a little close-up here, this is where a tree is like fallen down into the river because its earth that was holding it up was taken away by the river. And you can see how it's just very clear along here where the river has taken part of the land. And guess what it does with that? It turns into like muddy water. You see how it's all muddy? And then that creates a very fine amount of dirt. You might call it silt and sand. And that'll actually go down to the ocean where the river ends and make a wide area where it's not very deep at all. And then as the waves come, it'll move that stuff around, and it'll take sand to the beaches, and sometimes it'll take the sand away from the beaches, and you'll end up with no beach. Or suddenly the beach will get really wide. And like where we went to the beach yesterday, the beach had gotten so wide that all the people who had businesses had to move all their businesses like, I don't know, like 400 feet closer to the water, because people want to be close to the water when they eat their shrimp and drink their beers and Coca-Cola and orange juice and things. Yeah. So the water from this river ends up creating a lot of dirt and things, and it flows down. You can ask your dad about the Mississippi River. I'm sure he knows a lot about that, and out there in the Gulf of Mexico, and how a lot of that was made by the Mississippi River. And that's where Phyllis Taylor had her oil wells. Yep, Phyllis Taylor, not you, but your namesake. Anyways, rivers are so important. I'm glad now when you see a river, you'll think it's more than just a bunch of water flowing by, because it's a lot more than that. And this has been another educational video from Doggone Videos, where we appreciate the fact that you're watching our videos. And if you want to share them with your neighbors, well, go ahead, because we don't charge. But if we get enough people watching these, YouTube will give us some money. You can tell me in the comments section if there's anything you'd like to see, and we can make you a custom video at no charge. Take care. Bye, Brianna. Bye, Larissa. Bye, May. Bye, Phyllis Taylor. Bye, Bennett. Bye, Laura. Bye, Harlow. Bye, War Bonds. We need to support our efforts.